Welcome back to another edition of Big in Biz with DiViz. My guest today is Tara Ruscoe. She is the regional manager of CBD Pros, several stores in Atlanta. And if you got any questions about CBD, rubs, tinctures, lotions, gummies, stay tuned. She's got all the answers. Welcome back to another edition of Big in Biz with DiViz. I'm Craig DiVizzio, president of DiVizzio International. And if you have been wondering what the brouhaha is about CBD, you are in the right place. We have got today Tara Ruscoe. She is the regional manager of CBD stores, actually CBD Pros in Atlanta, several stores. She's a business professional with a previous background in logistics and hospitality. She's also a mother of 5, grandmother of 2, activist, and canna fan. That would be cannabinoid fan.
That's right.
It's not just her career choice. This is her mission, and you're going to find that out pretty quickly because you can't listen to Tara talk for more than 5 minutes and not hear her passion about these products and these medicines. Tara, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's great to have you here. Let's talk about cannabinoids, CBD, the endocannabinoid system. Where do you want to start? And I will say, in terms of full disclosure, I am one of her customers.
Yes.
And the first time that I went into the store, what I noticed more than anything else was how passionate she is about the field that she is in. And so I want to share that with people because I think a lot of people may think, I don't even know what this CBD thing is, and I'm afraid to go in the store because who's in there? A bunch of people who are all out of it or whatever. We're going to debunk all that today.
Absolutely.
And talk about the beautiful stores and how these products can help you. So let's talk a little bit about CBD. Start wherever you'd like to.
Yeah, so, unbeknownst to most of us, our entire lives, we do have an entire system that's in our body. We call it the ECS, or the endocannabinoid system. For our whole lives, we had been lied to, and we were told that the brain was basically the master computer of the body. And in reality, the brain is just part of the endocannabinoid system. So endo, of course, means that it's produced naturally in your body. So your body does produce cannabinoids naturally. When your body gets a little bit deficient in it, we have the phytocannabinoids or plant-derived cannabinoids, and that's what we come from in our store. So CBD is just one of the components that is part of the plant. Just to kind of be clear, full disclosure, it is a member of the cannabis family, right? In the cannabis family, you have the hemp flower. All of our products are all hemp-derived. Hemp plant is high in CBD, it's low THC. The marijuana plant, high THC, low CBD. So again,
and for some of the listeners who don't know what that is, explain THC and the effects of that, and talk a little bit more about that, because we may be using some terms that some people are not familiar with.
Right? Absolutely. So THC is just one of the components in the plant. It's the one that's more psychoactive. So when people think of the head shops and all the stuff at the CBD store, that's kind of what they're thinking of. They think that everybody's going to be in there and they're going to be in a weird state or anything like that. But really, CBD is non-psychoactive. It's all about the health benefits that it brings to us. So again, we do have products that do have the THC in there. Again, all hemp-derived THC. So it's all legal, but it's all designed to be more medicinal. And we have it from everything from pets all the way up to like your grandma. Everybody is able to use CBD.
Yeah, you mentioned in the form that we send out where we ask you, what do you really want to talk about? You mentioned, I want to talk about this as a medicine.
Yes.
And you also mentioned talking about it, the stigma attached to it.
Correct.
Back in the day, I'm old enough, I'm sure all the viewers that are not surprised by this, that I grew up in the 60s and the 70s during the time of the marijuana where it seemed like everybody on the planet was doing it. To me, Tara, it seemed like there was less of a stigma attached to smoking marijuana then than there is using CBD today, even if you're using CBD that doesn't have the THC in it.
Correct.
So you're not gonna you're gonna take it, but you're not gonna feel that fuzzy head like you might to somebody. So talk a little bit about that stigma and how did we get almost regressing to now where we've got products that are actually better for us, but there's a bigger stigma against them, and a lot of people I know are wanting to try them. I mean, I've got friends who've said, yeah, I bought some on the internet. I don't really know what I got, and I don't know how to use them, and I'm kind of afraid to use them. Talk a little bit about that. What your non-THC CBD and what it does, and how people don't really need to be afraid of it, as if they're gonna take it. And I remember the movie Reefer Madness.
Oh, yeah.
Where you
That's
smoke
the
some
best.
marijuana and then you're killing people and that
You
kind.
become an adulteress,
Yeah,
like all the bad things.
And my belief is that there are people who are they hear all of this, and you were sharing with me that Jimmy Kimmel had a show where he was talking about it. So there's a lot of interest in it, but there's still that resistance from some people. Talk a little bit about how to get around that for the people who are concerned, by doing something I shouldn't be doing.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, again, all of our products are hemp derived, and hemp products became legal as of the 2018 Farm Bill. And so that's where all of our products come from. So first and foremost, it's all legal. There's never any reason to be worried about it, first and foremost. All of our products do come with a certificate of analysis. We have QR codes right on all the products, so you can go right to them and see exactly what's in. So that's another thing too. Back in the 60s and 70s, you couldn't go out and get those from your people,
Right.
So that's a little bit different too. But again, all of our products go all the way from the isolate, which is just strictly CBD. There's no other cannabinoids in there. So that's really good for people that are like THC sensitive or get drug tested for work, where they could get tested for THC. Kids, you can even give isolates to pets. They're very sensitive on the system. Then you go up to broad spectrum, which has everything but THC in there. And again, hemp-derived THC, I want to make that clear. And then it goes to full spectrum, which has that little legal amount, the less than 3%. And then you go all the way up to having the Delta 8 THCs. And now we have some hemp-derived Delta 9 THCs that come on there. So there's all kinds of different spectrum, and it just is what you're comfortable taking. And of course, if you get drug tested, which you can take. But, it's by design. They did a really good job back in the day of making it scary for people. Prior to like about 1937, it was in pretty much every medicine that you can think of. The pharaohs were...
Wait a second. Let me stop you there. You're saying that CBD was pretty much in every medicine up until what time?
1937.
Okay.
That's about the time of like the Reefer Madness movie and all that stuff. It was a lot of...
And then the government decided to remove it? Was there a ban on it? What happened at that
Yes
point?
to all things. It was,
Okay.
you have big pharma that came into the picture about that time. You have big paper. You had big plastic. You had all the big businesses that were coming in. And, a little bit about the hemp plant. It is the only plant in the entire known universe that can satisfy every need a human needs, whether it's food. You have hemp seed, you have hemp hearts, you have hemp oil. You can build with it. They make buildings that, like, people that are super sensitive to any, like, insulation or formaldehydes or whatever, they're actually building houses out of hemp. All of the ships used to have the sails built out of hemp, the hemp ropes that were on there. There was even a story about how the George Bush Sr., when he jumped out of the plane, that his ropes from his parachute were made of hemp. But it's medicine, of course, for most of us, but it threatens a lot of businesses. We can fuel cars off of it. We can fuel homes. So, that's when it became a problem. And that's when it became taboo, basically.
So then the people had something to lose if this kind of got traction.
Absolutely,
back then. And
absolutely.
So it kind of got pushed underground.
Absolutely.
So I know that we've got listeners who are saying, go back a little bit. If I were to go walk into a CBD store, which I'm terrified of doing. I can hear people,
Yes.
in my ear saying, I'm terrified of doing that. Who's going to see me doing that, whatever. How would you treat a brand new customer coming in, what would be some of the things that you would ask them? What would be some of the things you may suggest? Because one of the things that I really appreciated in meeting you was that it's not a matter of going into one of your stores and then looking at all the different products, and there are many of them, and determining what I need myself. You and all the associates that I bumped into at your stores are very well read. And they typically ask a lot of questions, and then they say, kind of in a way, like a doctor. Though we're not calling them a doctor, but in a way, the process is the same. They're saying, tell me why you're here. Tell me. And so I'm a brand new customer, and I come in and go, Tara, I don't know hardly anything about this. Number one, in a nutshell, briefly explain to me why I should be taking CBD on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Again, just like you talked about, we are very big on the guest loyalty piece. So when you come in, we do kind of treat it like a consultation. And depending on what you come in and we always ask, hey, what brought you here to start with? Something brought you here. Usually it's pain issues, it's sleep, anxiety, of course, is going out of control right now with everything. But we just kind of ask you what brought you here. And one of the first things that we do is, okay, what do you already know about it? Because like you talked about earlier, unfortunately, when CBD kind of started coming into the picture, it did come in through the vape shops, the smoke shops, gas stations, all that kind of stuff too. So we want to make sure that we set ourselves apart in that. So we go through a piece of like, okay, so if you're coming in for pain, so I'm going to say, hey, Craig, I noticed you were limping in a little bit. So you have some leg pain, some hip pain. What's going on with you?
And I did. And
exactly.
when I again, as full disclosure, when I met Tara, I was struggling with a bad hip. I have since had a complete or a total hip replacement, but I was really struggling with pain. And at the time I came in, I think I shared with you, I was taking at least 12 Tylenol a day, which you can read in the literature, they tell you that's bad for you.
Exactly.
But I had so much pain, I didn't know what else to do.
Right.
So I came in your shop and I said, okay, I'm having trouble with my hip. And I know nothing about, and then you started talking about receptors in the brain.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
So you do have, throughout your body, you have receptors. And you have, the two main ones are your CB1 and your CB2. The easiest way to remember it is CB1 is kind of everything in your brain. We talked about the brain being the master computer. So you've got the brain, the reproductive systems, and the muscles are all tied to that CB1 receptor. Your CB2 receptor is most of like your immune system, internal stuff, like your intestines and stuff like that. They are all affected and helped with CBD. CBD actually primes those receptors to kind of help out. Like for gearhead guys, I always tell, hey, it's like the oil in your car. For women, I always say it's like the primer to your makeup. It's going to set everything in your body correctly. What CBD is designed to do is to bring balance or homeostasis into your body. And so whatever that looks like for you, it's going to be individual for you. So again, if you are on any other medicines or you take any other supplements, the CBD is actually going to help your body absorb them and work better with those things. And a lot of people do use CBD to actually get off of their medicines because their body's going to balance. They realize they maybe not need this anymore. So whatever people are looking to get out of their experience, that's what we're designed to do. And that's kind of why we go through that consultation piece, because we want to know what you want to get out of it, whether it's, and people coming in with pain, it's never just pain, like for me, I have PTSD, and my PTSD comes with pain. It comes with fibromyalgia. It comes with the lack of sleep. So it's never usually just that one issue. So the more time that we kind of get to spend with you and kind of drill down and to get to all of the issues, we're going to try to design a regimen based off of you, because like you said, we have lots of products, lots of opportunities to help. The best way to get it is on a regimen so that your body is always getting the CBD that it needs, and it's always going to stay in that homeostasis. Because especially with tinctures, when you get off tinctures, it hurts. Your body falls back into its old normal, and it reminds you very quickly why you started going for this to start with. Whether the pain comes back, whether the sleeplessness comes back. But again, we want to make sure we don't do that for you. We want to make sure that when you walk out of the store, that not only do you feel confident about what we recommended for you, but when you go home, we're going to follow up with you. And we have kind of like a timetable after a certain couple of days to follow up with you based on the products that you took. And hey, how's that tincture working for you? How's the gummies? Because if it's not working for you, whether you think you could take it once and you started feeling better, so you stopped taking it or whatever, we want to make sure that you are on the best regimen and you know that CBD is going to work for you. And if that particular product that we got for you isn't working, then we're going to try to, hey, maybe we should pair it with this. Hey, let's try to do it at this time. Maybe we should split up the dose or whatever. We're not just here to sell the product. We're actually on that wellness journey with you. So we do care. And that's where that consultation piece does come in very handy.
Yeah, I like the fact that you called it a consultation because it actually felt like a consultation. It's a matter of, Craig, what are you doing here? Well, let me suggest some things for you. And then the conversation typically goes, okay, you're suggesting this. What is this going to do in my body? How am I going to feel when I take it? So when somebody comes in, and I know that you probably have lots of people who are first-time people walking in the store. You can probably tell by the way they're treading very lightly,
yes,
almost
looking around,
fearful of coming in. Who's watching me go into this store? And you'll say, how am I going to feel when I do this? How is somebody going to feel? Because I'm sure people are afraid. I'm going to take CBD and I'm going to get a head buzz. And I'm not going to know where I am or what it. To talk a little bit about that. What's the effect that you get like that, the headiness from CBD?
Again, that's the fun part. And I absolutely love when people come in for the first time because that's when I completely geek out over the whole thing. But CBD, again, is not designed to be any kind of psychoactive. It's designed to bring your body to balance. And
so I'm going to take a CBD and I'm not going to get some kind of a head rush. Okay. So I'm, from that perspective, I won't necessarily know it's in my body, but I will find out or realize it is based on what do I feel.
A lot of times, especially when people come in for the first time, I always encourage people to journal because when your body goes into being in balance.
That's a great idea.
It is. And they actually make some really good CBD journals that are out there because I can tell you my own personal story. When I got on a really good regimen when I first started working for this company, now I'm somebody that would have chronic pain, chronic fatigue, chronic everything bad. You would think that when I stopped feeling that, like it would have been a market thing, like I would have had a big party, like, oh my gosh, I'm not in pain, I'm sleeping well. But your body just goes into doing what it should have been doing all along, and there's not a big fanfare. It was my family that pointed out, they're like, hey mom, like, what's going on? You're in no pain, like you're not crying, you're not in this like fetal position 24/7. And I was like, oh, you're right, I'm not. I didn't even realize it, and it was my own body. So, especially like for people, I'm like, journal. I was like, your family is probably going to notice way before you do that you're starting to act better, and they're going to ask you what you're doing different, and you're going to have to remember, oh yeah, I started taking CBD. Because again, there's no fanfare from your body. Your body doesn't go, yay, finally you did something correct, and I'm starting to work better. Same thing with your car. Your car doesn't start celebrating that it's running better because you got to tune up or you change the oil.
I noticed that my car's not backfiring, and I noticed that my car's not breaking down and stopping in the middle of an intersection. So all of a sudden now, this restoring to homeostasis, now my body just starts acting the way it should be doing all along. You've been listening to Big in Biz with DiViz. I've been talking to Tara Ruscoe. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. The number one reason why most people are unsuccessful is that they hate doing the work. Man, I don't even want to think about thinking about getting prepared. For those of you who are really struggling with, I don't really want to do the work, I've done most of the work for you. I've made the process easier. All you got to do is pick up one piece of material and everything that you need is there. I guarantee it. I've got thousands of students from my classes who've been successful using this approach. I know it works. You need to up your game. You can do it, but you got to figure out what's the best way for me to do it. You know you need to start preparing now. Everything that I knew over 40 years is in my book and in my interviewing skills online course. Everybody's got a favorite learning style. All you got to do is watch it, read it, listen to it. See ya. And we're back with my guest, Tara Ruscoe. She is the regional manager, of several CBD Pro stores in Atlanta. Let's go back, Tara. I was intrigued by the suggestion that you made that people start journaling so that they can recognize, because let's face it, with any type of medication that you're taking, any type of anything, if you don't keep track of when you started, somebody will say like, well, you appear to be doing better. When did you start that? Oh, I can't remember.
Exactly.
So I love that journaling piece. That makes sense. But let's say I come in the store and I say, it's my first time here. I'm nervous. I don't know anything about this. Educate me. I'm here because of pain in my hip. What might be some of the products that you would suggest I take and why?
Absolutely. So again, we always start with, first and foremost, because we have the products that do have the THC, we always ask first, hey, is drug testing an issue for you, or do you have any kind of sensitive to THC? Because some people do have sensitivities. Even if they've used it in the past, they can't use it now, anything like that.
And if they did have a sensitivity, how would they know that?
So it's just trial and error. A lot of times, people might have done things in the past and they have that, again, the stigma, right? So if they did things in the past, that was either laced with something and they got sick, or they maybe did too much of it, there's already that like stigma in their head. So there is like an actual medical sensitivity to it, but most people, it's just a mental thing. But you never want to like kind of point that out to people,
Right.
because then it kind of becomes even more prevalent. So you just say, hey, do you have any sensitivities with THC? Do you drug test for work or anything like that? And if people are like, no, I'm self-employed, drug testing's not an issue, then we kind of go through, okay, so tell me a little bit about your pig. Is it like on a scale from 1 to 10, where does it usually sit on a constant? And I think you were like an 8 or 9 when you came
Oh
in.
yeah, when I got my hip replaced, and the doctor did the X-ray. He says, "You've got bone on bone." He says, "I'm surprised that you were even walking with the amount of pain that you were in." I said, "Well, I wasn't in a lot of pain, and I'll tell you why."
Because you were on the meds.
Right.
Yep.
So I was at an 8 or a 9. It was pretty high. And let's say that I am not of mind where I want to take any THC.
So from
Because
there,
maybe I'm getting drug tested, or
Right.
maybe I'm just of the opinion I just don't want to go there yet.
Absolutely.
What would you start with?
So again, we have the isolate, which is just strictly CBD. And usually, depending on people, that's kind of where I'll put them. And again, that's the only cannabinoid that's in there. So you don't have any of the CBGs, any of the CBNs, any of the other cannabinoids. It's just CBD. For a lot of people, that's kind of where I'll stop. If it's just a matter of they don't necessarily want the THC, then I might even go up based off of how their pain is to the broad spectrum. Because even though broad spectrum does not have THC components in there, it does have CBN, which I love CBN cannabinoid, and we can talk about a whole segment on that. But CBN is actually derived from aging THC. So it can flag as a false positive. So
In a drug test.
in a drug test, yeah. So we always try to give full disclosure for that, because we definitely don't want people to get caught surprised with that. But, even with CBDA, that's like the Jimmy Kimmel show we were talking about. That's another component. That is the acidic form of CBD. And that's before you do the decarboxylating of it, I could say that right, and burns off the acid from it. So that's where CBD comes from. So CBDA being more powerful, I will tend to steer people more towards that as well too, because we have it in gummy bears, we have it in like a syrup that you can either put in a drink or you could take it. But that seems to go really good for pain. It works really good on inflammation too. So it just kind of depends on sensitivities.
And I know we used to, I don't want to confuse people with the word broad spectrum, but there is a spectrum of starting with the isolate, which is just pure CBD. Then you're getting like an additional ingredient in the next level.
Everything but THC and broad spectrum.
And then you get to the full spectrum. It's enough. So when people are going into a store and somebody's talking about CBD, they've got to realize there are different versions of this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like even a Tylenol, the basic Tylenol,
Yes.
and then the advanced Tylenol. It's got something else in it. It's got the regular Tylenol
Right.
drug plus a little something else.
Advil and Tylenol together, yeah, there's all this stuff.
Okay. Let's say I went in and I said, Tara, I really struggle with sleeping. how would you advise me at that point?
Again, it goes back to, okay, so tell me a little bit about your sleep patterns. Are you
I
able?
wake up every night 3 times a night. Okay,
Yeah,
in the
that
middle
was
of the
my
night.
life too.
Okay,
That was
no,
my life
I'm
too.
just picking. I'm picking one that I expect a lot of listeners to go, yeah, that's me. You know,
Yep.
I can't get a full night's sleep. Seems like I'm waking up 2 or 3 times a night. I can get back to sleep typically within a half hour or so, but I'm waking up repeatedly.
So, and again, so not having the knowledge, a lot of people rush to melatonin for that, right?
Right.
Melatonin helps you fall asleep, but it doesn't keep you asleep. So, and people like myself, I can't take melatonin. It gives me really lucid, weird dreams, and I end up getting kind of like hungover the next day from melatonin. So we always ask people too. So tell me about that. You know, you wake up in the middle of the night. Have you used melatonin products in the past? Oh yeah, I have. Okay, so a lot of times people are using too much melatonin. A lot of the products that are out there have like 10 milligrams, 20 milligrams of melatonin. That's going to give you adverse effects. So we always kind of ask, okay, so what other stuff do you do before bed? A lot of people drink wine before bed. So I'll always advise them, I'm like, hey, just letting you know, please stop on the wine for a little bit. Let the CBD do its job. Things like that. We have products that have melatonin in it. We have products that don't have melatonin in it. We have them in topicals. One of my favorite things to do, especially for little ones that don't sleep, is you rub the cream on the bottom of their feet after tub or shower, stick some socks on them, and it pulls up through the bloodstream. The melatonin doesn't affect me like that anymore, as if I take it like internally. So that works really good for kids too. But again, we have them in gummies. We have tinctures, you know, the oils that you could take under the tongue, the gummy bears. It just kind of depends on everything, what your tolerance is. I have a very high tolerance, so I need all of the things. Some people are very sensitive, so we can just give them a little something. We always recommend to start with half, because if your body's sensitive and if you can only take half of it and get the full effects, why take the whole thing? You just doubled your dosage.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know, there's a lot of it. We try to spend at least a half an hour to 45 minutes with people just to kind of understand, because again, maybe the sleeplessness is caused by pain. So do you experience any pain? Is it racing thoughts that are going through? Because all of these things are going to help us gear the best regimen for you, because we have so many different products. We just want to make sure that we're getting the right ones home with you guys.
Yeah, what you're talking about, you know, I don't know what our viewers' experience is with walking into a CBD store if they've never done. If you're not walking in and getting a consultation, but somebody's just trying to sell you products, you need to go to, and maybe you need to go to anyway,
Yes.
CBD Pros.
Yes.
Because every store that I've been in, the people are educated enough so that I learn something new every time that I go. I even learned something new just a second ago. I've been one of those people, that was me, who was waking up a couple of times a night, and I was taking melatonin, and if 5 milligrams wasn't enough, so I made the mistake that you just talked about. I went to 10 milligrams,
Yes.
and then from 10 milligrams I went to 20 milligrams, and nothing seemed to work. So, you know, maybe I didn't ask you that question in the store. I had to get it here today.
There you go.
You know, let's talk about anxiety and depression. Let's say, because right now we've got a situation where, if you look at the national news, we've got tons of people who through this pandemic are really struggling with anxiety and depression.
Absolutely.
One of them comes into your store and says, hey, let me be that person. Ask me any question that you would ask somebody, and I'll come up with answers that I think are representative of people who might come in the store.
So actually, that is probably 90% of what comes through the doors anymore anyways, is
Okay.
anxiety. Just like you said, with the way the world is right now, that's everybody coming through. So again, you know, it's like, hey, my name is Tara. How can I help you today? And they're like, you know, I've got anxiety. And so we, again, start off with, tell me a little bit about your anxiety. Is it a generalized anxiety? Is it a certain time of day? Again, because all of these things help us gear towards it. So we'd ask, okay, does your anxiety come with any stomach pain? Do you have any intestinal issues? Because
I don't know. Tara, I've done a little research, and I realized that there's a name for what I have. It's called running anxiety. It's all day long.
Yes.
I don't really have any symptoms like stomach pain or anything, but I just feel like I'm on edge all the time, and I feel like I will never be happy. I'm just, you know, and of course we know that anxiety goes with depression.
Absolutely.
And so where do I go from here?
So again, we always recommend first and foremost a tincture. So,
So that's the droppers.
that's the droppers
Use like
you
a
take
little
under.
eyedropper, put it underneath your tongue, and it's absorbed through your body that way.
Yep, we have it in two different forms. That's the oil form, and then we also have it in a water soluble that you can either take right under the tongue or you can mix it in a beverage. Because again, a lot of people, they don't necessarily want to do something outside of their routine. So we have something they could just drop in their coffee, their chocolate, their tea, whatever it is that they drink, water. And that actually works a little bit faster too. It's a nano emulsified, so it uses sound waves to break it up. And so like the bioavailability, like I can usually start feeling the relief from that in 20 minutes. In fact, usually when people come in and they have anxiety, that's usually the first thing we're doing is we're trying to give them a sample, because that's one of our favorite things that we love to do in the store. It's like, here, try this, here, try this. And that water soluble, you start feeling that right away. And
So
people
they're liable to even feel the
Exactly.
difference before they even walk out of the store.
Exactly. And, we have an amazing sample case, and everything is done by ailment. So we have an anxiety case, we have a depression case, and we have the samples that kind of go with them. And we're all happy to give you guys the samples coming in the store, because, again, we know what you guys have dealt with in the past. We know the people that try to order their CBD off of online, and they're really just getting hemp. And although hemp is a great superfood, it's not in their mind what they're thinking it should be, because it's not. So they get the stuff offline and they're like, oh, that stuff didn't work. CBD's a joke. I don't know why everybody loves it. Well, you have to come in and you have to make sure you're getting actual CBD. That's a huge difference. Even with the pet stuff that they have in a lot of the pet stores, it's just hemp oil or hemp seed oil. It's not CBD. And again, it's going to give you some benefits, but it's not the same as if you get actual CBD. So coming into us, we're going to ask you all those questions. What are you currently doing for your sleep? What are you currently doing for your anxiety?
What runs through my mind is the person who possibly purchased some product on the internet,
Yes.
and they said, I tried it for 2 days and I didn't feel any different. If I was in your store and I said that, what would be your response? Because I know of people that I've talked to who've said, yeah, I tried that and I didn't feel any different. So, to me, it's a bunch of hype and it's not really doing anything. It's false advertising, if you will. What would you say to that person?
Well, first and foremost, any medicine you're going to take, you need at least 72 hours for your body to start getting the benefits of it.
Okay.
So taking it for 2 days right out the gate, you're not doing yourself justice. Even when we do our follow-up calls, when we sell it, we even send like little prescription type pads home with people when they get a tincture for the first time or they're trying something new for the first time. Give this 5 to 7 days. Then we're going to reach out to you and we're going to see how you're doing in 5 to 7 days. And we're going to send you a text because, we get it all the time. They're like, oh yeah, I took it like 2 or 3 days and then I stopped taking it and then I went back.
Right.
It's all about
Right.
the consistency. And of course, the more of the microdosing that you're going to do throughout the day, you're going to get better benefits. Somebody that's going to come in and they're just going to want to get some flour and that's going to be their only treatment, but they've had a chronic pain for 30 years. It's going to help, yes, of course, but they're not going to get the full benefits.
So back up for just a second and tell me about microdosing, because I know as you said that, people are going, do I eat like a 1/10 of a gummy every day, every hour, or do I put this, I know that you have people who say, I don't want to put that oil under my tongue
Right.
because it tastes bad.
Right.
And putting it in a drink is a little bit better, but boy, I sure do like the fact that it's, I take some of my vitamins in gummies. I can just add this gummy. So talk a little bit about what each one of those would look like in a micro dosage.
And again, it's based off of so many different things. It's based on what you're coming in for, your condition,
Okay.
how long you've had it. Anything chronic, the longer you've had it, the longer it's going to take to treat it. So for me, microdosing is I wake up in the morning, I have my water bottle, I have my water soluble. Before my feet are hitting the floor, I'm putting my water soluble in my water bottle. Get a nice refreshing kick. I'm ready to go because I know in 20 minutes I have to wake the kids up for school. So that's about when it starts coming in and I've already got the calm. So I get them off to school. Then I'm taking my gummy. I have a gummy as I'm walking out the door. That's going to set me up to continue my microdosing, right? And then I also have capsules that I take. One of my favorites is the gut caps because my anxiety definitely comes with gut issues.
Oh, okay.
So, we have a huge line of capsules that actually work, that have CBD in them too, because just like you talked about, a lot of people don't like to do the oil. They can take a capsule that has not only the CBD, but all kinds of amazing ingredients that go with them. Like the gut has prebiotic, probiotic, and enzyme pack, CBG, CBD, reishi mushroom. I mean, these are 5 amazing ingredients in one capsule, and you're not having to worry about taking all these different supplements. So I'll take that midday, and then come the evening, I'll do another gummy, and then I have another tincture. So, it's just kind of like you're not going to drive from Georgia to California on one tank of gas. Your body's the same way too, except we treat our cars a little bit better than we do our bodies, because, the car's check engine light comes on and we're pulling right into the mechanic, where our check engine light goes off for decades before we try to do anything about it.
Yeah, I like that analogy, because I guarantee you there are people who who are listening, who have put up with pain, non-sleep, anxiety, and depression for so long now. They're looking for some other alternative to what they've been
Absolutely.
taking that hasn't been working. And so you get a chance with CBD to not only choose the product that you want, one that accommodates your lifestyle, so to speak,
Absolutely.
or your preferences, but also then the dosing of that is, like most things, start off low. If you're not feeling an effect of that, go a little bit higher, but don't start
Absolutely.
off with a major dose at the beginning of that.
Right, because your body is going to take what it needs. Like if you take everything in the beginning of the day, your body's going to take what it needs, and the rest is just going to expel. But if you microdose it throughout the day, it's like the difference between eating 3 huge meals a day or eating small meals throughout the day. Your body's going to assimilate it and process it better, so you're going to get better results from it, rather than just eating this huge meal and then feeling miserable for the rest of the day. So it just keeps our tank full. Again, because we do produce cannabinoids naturally, these are just your supplements for it. And you can produce cannabinoids by eating dark chocolate. Sardines will give you cannabinoids. Any kind of spiritual practice, any exercise that you do, these all produce cannabinoids naturally. Like the runner's high, right? We've all heard of runner high.
So let me stop you there.
Yeah.
So if somebody's eating dark chocolate and they don't even know that they're producing cannabinoids, now you can say, hey, you're already doing this.
Exactly.
You can do it in a different format.
Exactly.
That's actually going to have a bigger beneficial effect on your body.
Absolutely. And that's just it. We're not taught those things. Again, like the runner's high. We've all heard of runner's high and your endorphins, right? The runner's high is actually, there's a bliss molecule that gets enacted in your endocannabinoid system, or your ECS, that produce those feelings of euphoria. It's part of the endocannabinoid system. Women produce cannabinoids in our breast milk. You've all heard the term milk drunk. It's not milk drunk. The babies have the cannabinoids. It helps them. It mellows them out. It provides all of their early building blocks that they need. Again, we're not taught these things. We're taught it's everything else, but even though we've known about this system for 30 plus years.
We've been talking for a half hour or so, and we have barely scratched the surface on everything to know about this.
Not even close.
And so I want to encourage the listeners, if this is of interest to you, if you've been suffering from any of these conditions and have not found relief in other things, you want to check out CBD Pros, with the people who will actually do a consultation with you rather than just selling you some product. We're running short on time, Tara. Last thoughts to the listeners. How do you want to wrap this up?
Just like you said, so many people have bought stuff online and they get the wrong products because they don't know. Come in, there's nothing to worry about. Everybody that comes in, we're all in the same boat. People that smoke, people that don't, people that have heard about it. We just want to be able to give everybody that option to empower themselves to take back their health instead of having their health taken away from them. So, we have the 5 stores that are in Atlanta. We have them in Buford, Norcross, Johns Creek, Woodstock, and Kennesaw. You can come in, you can call us. We just want to help. Even if you don't buy anything and you're curious and you just want to know, just come in. We love geeking out to the stuff all day long. It's part of what we do all day long. We spend as much time as we possibly can learning new things, new cannabinoids that come through, new recipes that we can help you with, whatever it is that you're looking for. We just want to be there to help people and give people a more informed choice rather than, relying on some of the stuff that's on the internet that may not be as legit.
Right. And to expect this to be a process.
Yes.
That a learning process where the customer feedback is important
Absolutely.
to the getting the correct product and the correct dosage.
Absolutely. It's a journey and we take it with you. You know, the last thing we ever want to be is transactional. We want to make sure that we are giving you the best options and we just take this journey with you the whole time. We have people that come in and it's kind of like the old show Cheers. You remember that show where everybody knows your names? It's everybody that comes in, we remember you. And there's a reason we spend a lot of time with you.
Right. And your website that people can reach you at is?
CBDprosusa.com.
CBD Pros. If you've been suffering from any of these conditions, if you want to find out more about CBD, check out CBD Pros. Ask for Tara. I'm sure even if she's not at the store that day, she'd be happy to talk to you and educate you as she does me every time I go into the store. Tara, I want to thank you very much for being on the show. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
And that's it for another edition of Big in Biz with DiViz. I'm Craig DiVizzio. Thank you for watching. Till next time, stay cool, have good thoughts. See you.